Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Moore, and I'm a librarian with the Maricopa County Library District. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be visiting with staff and volunteers from Liberty Wildlife, and today we're talking about vultures and falcons. There's no actual connection between the two, but it's still kind of cool. So since we're meeting remotely, I'm going to go ahead and take the mask off so you can understand me a little better. A big thank you to the Friends of the Sun City Libraries for financing this program, and for Laura for putting together the volunteers and the birds and the time for us to meet. At the end of the program, there'll be some resources that you might want to check out. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. How are you?
Hi, Kate. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
So you work at Liberty Wildlife. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. We are a nonprofit wildlife rescue rehabilitation center that also focuses on conservation and sustainability and education. So basically that means that we are taking care of all the native wildlife of Arizona, anything that's sick, injured, and orphaned, and trying to get it rehabilitated and back out into the wild. We do have cases where some of those animals cannot survive on their own after they've been treated here. It's just damage has been too extreme. There's some other issue going on that means that they wouldn't survive out in the wild if they were released. We can get those onto our education permit, and therefore we can use them to talk to the public when they come visit us during open hours. We can go to schools and community events with those animals, and we can do Zoom programs.
Great. Okay, and if I wanted to visit you, are we still able to do that right now?
We are still open to the public on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. I would always check our website just to stay up to date on anything that may be changing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And if I were to find an animal that was injured, could I bring it to you?
Yes, our hospital is open every single day. So we have an intake window that's open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. And so people can bring wildlife to us that needs help. If it's something a little bit scarier with talons or claws or teeth and we don't want you handling it, you can actually call our hotline every day between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. And they can assist you on what to do, and also send out rescue teams that will travel throughout Arizona to pick up some of the larger animals or to help with some of the rescues.
Very cool, very cool. So this is exciting. We're going to talk today about vultures and Peregrine Falcons and all sorts of stuff.
Not that there's anything connecting the two, but we just thought that they, would fill a good time slot together. We had owls in one program, we had eagles in one program, we had hawks in one program.
Mm-hmm.
So these are kind of the other two remaining ones that we wanted to bring out to you guys. So we spliced them together.
All right, sounds great.
All right, and we're gonna get started with Jan Miller, who's actually one of the few staff members that we have here at Liberty Wildlife. So we're gonna demonstrate our fancy State 48 shirts for you.
Yeah, those are awesome.
And I'll let her take it away.
All right, hi Jan.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
We are, we're trying to be good. But right here, what we have here, we're doing a little bit of a vulture talk for you. So what I have is the most commonly one that you'll see around here, and this is a turkey vulture. And they're recognizable when they're adults because they have that red head. You can see he actually does have red legs. They just look white right now, and I'll explain that in a second with the vultures that we have. This is Bailey. Bailey is our oldest resident here right now. One of our oldest residents. He's 35 years old this year, so he's managed to hang with us for a really long time. And why we have Bailey, when you look at him, he's got both wings, he's fully flighted, so there's really physically nothing wrong with him. But when he started with us, Bailey came in from the Phoenix Zoo, and what he was doing was he started to follow the zookeepers around for his food versus begging for from his parents. He was hatched there, so back a long time ago in '86. And he's just decided that he wanted to follow the people and became too acquainted and too used to the people, which means that he's what we call an imprint, and imprints are not releasable back into the wild because they will get confused. They won't associate with their own kind. They'll seek out people for food, for companionship, and it becomes a danger to them as well as for the humans that might try to pick them up and get bit and have something happen to them as well. So what you saw there where Bailey was just flapping, you can tell these guys are the ones that you see out there soaring like unendlessly out on the thermals. They hardly ever flap. And what they do is they'll actually catch the thermals and they'll tip. These guys teeter. So when you're out there, it's like a dihedral. So it looks like a little bit of a V. And they'll be doing this back and forth. And they're literally dumping the wind off one wing and carrying it up to the other. And that keeps them up on those thermals so that they can fly and maintain that flight for long, long periods of time. And they can go really far distances because they are one of our big migrators. And so every year, they'll all start heading south, and we're real lucky because you can see them coming through the skies here, and they just, it's beautiful to see when you have a big kettle of them and you have like 50 of them in a kettle. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. The really neat thing about vultures is vultures will, they eat dead things. So they are garbage men. They do clean up our environment, and they're very, very important for us to have. And we've got several vultures. We have 2 of them here today, and we'll get Armadillo next. And you can see the differences in some of them. But when you're looking at Bailey, when he turns sideways, I don't know if you have a good enough view, but you can literally see straight through his nose. He's got a hole through, almost like you put a ring in it or something. But what that does, he has a very advanced olfactory gland that sits back there, and he can smell his food. Most of your birds of prey and other birds, they do not have a sense of smell or a very good sense of smell, where the turkey vulture has a very good sense of smell. It's pretty amazing. They can smell things from about a mile up on those thermals. So when they're flying and you're thinking about it, they're up there flying and they can catch the waft of the air. Now, vultures eat dead things, like I said. So, and the deader the better, as we like to say. So it's pretty smelly. And so they can smell that up there when they're going up in the thermals, and that's how they find their food. And so by these guys, the turkey vultures are the only ones that do that. And so when you see, we're going to bring in Armadillo. So this is the other one that we have here. This is Armadillo, and Armadillo is a black vulture. And you can see the difference like in their heads and their head shapes. But when you're looking at them, the black vulture is actually a little bit more aggressive of a bird, and what they will do is they'll follow the turkey vultures. So they're smart enough to see, he knows where to find that food. And he's going to go out and catch that food and, find it, not catch it, but he's going to go down, eat the food, and the black vulture will follow him in, or when they see a big group of turkey vultures on the ground, they know there's something there. So they'll come in, and then they'll take their turn at eating as well. So it's one of the really unique things about them. And when you're looking at these guys, Bailey, one of the things that you see in common when you're looking at them, they both have bald heads. They actually aren't completely bald. There's a little bit of fuzz up there on their heads and stuff. And so when you're looking at them, they've got these bald heads. And the reason for that is, let's go back to what they eat. They eat carrion, so they eat dead things, which can be kind of messy. So what they'll do is they'll take their head and they dig down in there and they get all these scraps and stuff out of the carcass and inside, and they get all that stuff on their head. And so what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll sit in the sun and it'll just bake and flake off their head. If they had a bunch of feathers up there, it would get all mucky and stuck, and their feathers would be sticky, and it'd be a fly attraction, and it would just be a mess. So we really have to admire the fact that their bald heads serve a big purpose for these guys. The other cool thing about vultures, because they're like not only our garbage men, but they are exactly what the world should be trying to do as far as conserving energy and things like that. When you look at them both, see they're very dark. They have these black backs, and they actually are iridescent in the back. So, and what that means is it's real shiny. They show different colors when they're out there. But in the mornings, if you ever go out and you're birding and stuff, and you'll see vultures all sitting out on a snag, both types. They'll be hanging out, and they'll have their wings all the way outstretched. And what they're doing is they're soaking up that sun so that they can get warm. That's how they'll warm themselves. They take in that sun, and they can bring their wings in, and they can make themselves warm without exerting too much energy by shaking and trembling to keep themselves warm. So they're very energy efficient that way. And when I was saying that they had, Armadillo actually has black legs, even though they look white or gray, and Bailey has red legs. But the white on their legs is actually their urates. which is something that goes in and it comes out very sterile. So as they're walking around in their carcasses and they have all this nasty stuff there, and you can talk about disease, these guys can handle a lot more disease than we can. They can handle botulism, anthrax, a lot of real big guns there that would certainly be bad for humans, and they can actually handle it. That was called a rouse, by the way. But what they'll do is after they've been in that carcass and they've walked around and they've got it all over their legs, they can pee down their legs and it sterilizes their legs. So it keeps everything clean. So they're very, very clean birds despite what they eat and how they go about doing it. So that's one of the other really cool things about these guys. And then along with that, that actually serves two purposes. So it cleans their legs, and when we're really hot here in the summertime, when we've got those 110 degrees, these guys will be up on the cool air thermals, and they can do that, and it acts like swamp cooling. So it actually helps cool them if the breeze is going through and their legs are getting wet by their urates. So anything else, Ann?
One of the coolest things that I like to mention about vultures is that they can eat several times the anthrax or botulism that would kill a person. And once it goes through their super acidic system and comes out the other end of the bird, they've actually eliminated the disease. So not only do they clean up dead food and make sure that we're all healthy and safe and that they're all healthy and all other wildlife is healthy, but they're actually protecting us in the process too. So that's kind of a cool thing. The other thing is, here in Arizona, we do have both of these species of birds. And so a lot of times people see them together and they're kind of wondering how they tell them apart when they're flying. And there are a couple of things to think about when you're looking at a bunch of vultures circling. When you look for a bird like Bailey, the turkey vulture, he's going to have flight feathers underneath. Underneath side of his tail is silver. Underneath his wings, the front half is dark. The back half is silver, and it goes all the way across from their body to their wingtips. When you look at the black vulture, they have black under their wings with white wingtips. So that's one quick way to tell. The other thing is, because the black vulture weighs a pound more than the turkey vulture, they have to flap a lot harder to stay in the air. So they can't work the thermals quite as well as Jan mentioned about the turkey vulture. These guys have to flap a lot more often. So when you're looking at the vultures and you want to find the black vulture and the turkey vultures, you look for the white wingtips and the bird that has to flap a lot to keep that extra pound in the air. They also have different tails. These guys have little short square tails. Turkey vultures have nice long tails. That's something that's also really obvious when you see them flying. So it's couple of quick ways to tell them apart when you see them up in the air. They're pretty obvious and kind of cool to be able to show your friends that you know the difference between a turkey vulture and a black vulture.
Well,
so,
and to me, it looks like the turkey vulture is a little bit bigger than the black vulture, but is that just my imagination?
Turkey vulture has a wider wingspan. So if you're
okay.
looking at their wingspan, it's 5 to 5.5 feet. The black vulture's wingspan isn't quite that wide, but their body is stockier in it, and they're just a pound heavier. So
Okay.
4 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, 3 pounds versus 4 pounds, but it allows the turkey vulture to be able to find the food with that sense of smell. The black vulture, who really has almost no sense of smell, but good eyesight, follows the turkey vultures. And because they're a pound heavier and a little more aggressive species, these guys let the turkey vultures do all the work to find the food. And then these guys come in and take advantage and use that little extra pound of bully power.
Poor turkey vulture.
I know. So if you come back as a vulture, don't pick the turkey vulture, pick the black vulture, because then you get to eat more often.
Yeah, and then we do have, these are both local in the state. We have these, you can find them throughout the state. And one of the other vultures that we do have, Arizona is very fortunate that we do have the California Condor, which is much larger than either of these two. And they stand about 3 feet tall, and they are an endangered species. Arizona itself, we have about 70, we go between 70 and 80 of them in the wild, depending on their ebbs and flows. And, it's an animal that's, you look at these guys and how cool they are and all the stuff that they do, and it's all the same techniques, and that's an animal that can really clean up the environment. I mean, you could get a group of those guys, they can get rid of something dead really fast. So it's definitely something that we need to be sure that we're saving and trying to keep with us here, you know, as these animals. And then we do have one more. We were just going to bring in this little guy because he's kind of cool to talk about along with vultures. So
We can go back to our chair. Next, please.
We've got Rio and Ceci. And Ceci can tell you a little bit about Rio and why we thought he's a nice tie-in to the vultures, because it's a really cool, unique, symbiotic relationship that these guys have.
Yeah, I think we met Rio the other day. So, how you doing, Rio?
Rio.
Oh, goodness.
Well, this is Rio. He is what we call a zone tail hawk. So you can see his tail has a different zone. And Arizona is actually the northern part of their territory. They're what we call a subtropical hawk. But one of the cool things about Rio as a zone tail hawk is he will mimic the turkey vultures. And he doesn't really spread his wings a whole lot. He can a little bit, but you can see there's a little bit of silver underneath, kind of a similar pattern to what Bailey has. But at any rate, he will also mimic the same flight pattern and following along behind the turkey vultures. And one of the things that does is it kind of fools the prey on the ground. The prey on the ground, they look up, they're like, ah, turkey vulture, I'm not dead yet. No worries. And then along comes Rio.
He kind of slides in the back door, you know?
Yeah.
Just goes in and gets them. So it's kind of a really neat relationship to see. And oftentimes when you're looking at those kettles of the vultures that I was talking about earlier, sometimes just keep your eyes open, because you just might happen to see a zone tail hawk in there, you know, which is really fun and cool to see, you know, because they do blend in really well. So do you have any questions?
Actually, I was wondering, Armadillo, why is he there?
Oh, why she's here.
Oh, yeah. Armadillo came to Liberty Wildlife by airplane. She was hatched and raised, we believe, at the World Bird Sanctuary in St. Louis. So regardless, she was in St. Louis, and as far as we know, she never had an opportunity to live a life in the wild. So she's non-releasable because of captive raising and rearing. So yeah, so she just is a really great education bird, because we do have this species in Arizona, and it's really fun to be able to compare and contrast them with the other two vultures here.
Yeah, and we don't really know her age. We didn't get a history on that, but we do believe that she's an older bird, just probably not as old as Bailey. I think Bailey takes the.
No one's as old.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Hello again.
Hello.
This is Vito.
Hi, Vito.
A bit smaller than the rest of the ones
A
that we
little bit, yeah.
little. He came to us in 2008 as an imprint, and I'm not sure if Jan went over that, but imprinting means that they're not going to recognize their own species. They're going to look to us for food, for companionship, etc. So that's how he came here. He's a male American kestrel, and he is the smallest falcon in the Americas, second smallest in the whole world, second only to the Seychelles kestrel.
Okay.
And these guys are cavity nesters. They like to make hole, or they don't make the holes, but there's another rouse. They will take over nests that other birds have built. Usually it starts with a woodpecker, and then maybe here in Arizona, they might go, cactus wren might kind of do a little more excavation. And then when these guys come down, the male comes down first. He looks around, picks about 2 or 3 different nest sites, and then the female comes down a week or 2 later, and she makes a final decision, just like real life, right? So at any rate, these guys are fierce when it comes to protecting their babies. Most wrappers have about a 50–60% success rate from the time the babies hatch to the time that they fledge. And these guys have about a 95% success rate getting their babies to fledge. Now, if they can make it through that next year or so, then they're going to be golden. So, and these guys are also one of the very few wrappers that you can tell the difference with them just by looking at the colors. Normally, the way we can tell the difference is, oh, the goats are out.
Uh-oh, it's in the catch cage.
So anyway, we have goats for weed control here. Great. At any rate, Vito has, you can see he's got these beautiful kind of slate blue wings. He's also got that beautiful slate blue on the top of his head. Now, the females also have the slate blue on the top of the head, but the rest of them is more of a rufous color and with the stripes and the striations on their chest. And then they also have the stripes on their chest, and these guys, if you can tell, have little polka dots. The males do. So they're also known as the sparrowhawk, so that might give you a little indication as to what part of their diet includes.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
I actually was talking to a group of people at one time, and there was a teenager guy, he's probably about 17, 18, and he goes, "Oh, dude, that means he's a cannibal." And I'm like, we eat other mammals, so.
That's true.
Yeah, so anyway, falcons tend to be bird eaters. So trying to think what else. Oh, you see what he's doing with his tail?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll do the head bob too. We call that the kestrel bob, and it's just a thing that they do. One of the things that they also will do in the wild is they can hover a little bit over an open field looking for their prey. They will eat mice as well. And one of the things that they can do is they can see an ultraviolet light. Actually, a lot of birds can see the ultraviolet spectrum. And that helps them kind of, I always tell people they're kind of cheating at hide and go seek.
Yeah.
Because one other thing that fluoresces under ultraviolet light is urine. And unfortunately, mice have nervous bladders. So they just kind of follow the trail.
Yeah, okay.
Now you also notice on the back of his head, let's see if he'll hold still a little bit, he's got the 3 dots, and it kind of looks like he's got dark eyes and his beak is dark, so from the back it looks like it might be a face. And that kind of fools predators. They're not going to want to attack head on, they're going to want to kind of sneak up on somebody. So that kind of fools some predators. And you also notice he's got these dark lines underneath his eyes. They're called Malar Stripes, and they're kind of act like what they do with the baseball players and the football players. They put those black marks underneath their eyes to kind of cut the reflection of the sun. So do you have any questions about him?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay. Are we ready for our next falcon?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a Peregrine Falcon,
Okay.
and he has a lot of things that are similar to the kestrel, and a couple of things that are a little bit different. One of the things you notice is rather than having the little stripes down the front of his eyes, Peregrine Falcon has actually almost more like a football helmet on top of their head, and that's one of the things that distinguishes them from the other 4 or 5 species of falcons we have in the United States. Peregrine Falcon has the distinction of being the world's fastest animal. So a lot of people say, well, that's a cheetah. And it's true that a cheetah is the world's fastest mammal, but a Peregrine Falcon is the world's fastest animal. It can fly in a dive faster than 230 miles an hour. And so here we go. He's shaking his feathers just like all the others have who are so happy. But that, by the way, is a sign of contentment and being uncomfortable in their environment. So that was kind of a cool thing to see. When they do this dive, they're diving head first, straight down, corkscrewing in the air. They have independent focus with their eyes. So one eye can be focusing one way, the other eye can be focusing on something a little bit different. So they have the ability with this great eyesight to see what they're chasing. Most likely they're chasing a bird. They almost exclusively are bird eaters. They've been known to, in that 200+ mile-an-hour dive, to get up to the prey animal that they're looking for, and they will shoot out their feet and hit their prey animal with the heels of their foot. That actually either stuns or kills that bird, in usually a bird in midair. And when that happens, these guys are fast enough to swoop down underneath turn upside down and grab that bird before it hits the ground with both feet and fly off to their favorite place to enjoy their food. One of the things that's a little different about a peregrine falcon than the kestrel that you just saw is with the kestrels, the females and the males look different. Their colors are different. In birds of prey, the females are always bigger, almost always for the most part. There are a couple of exceptions, but not for the most part. And so, if you were to see Eurus next to his girlfriend, she would be a third larger than he is. It's something that's very typical in birds of prey, that the females are larger than the males. And so it's thought to be the nesting birds and the ones taking care of the family are bigger and stronger to protect the family. There we go again. But the males are smaller because as a smaller bird, you're a more agile flyer. So that makes you better at bringing back the food. When these peregrines are raising their family, which can be 2 to 4, usually 2 to 4 young birds, as you can imagine, they're eating a lot of food. So the more food he can bring back, the better. So this is Eurus. He's a handsome little guy. He had a wing injury to his left wing. So you can see that it drops down a little bit. Sometimes we don't know when they come into the hospital what's brought them there. And I believe in his case that that's the case with him, that we're not certain how his injury happened. We do know that his wing is healed, and so he's okay. It's just that it didn't heal well enough for him to have the high tolerances that a falcon needs to be successful. So he'll live the rest of his life in captivity. At this point, he's only 2. So we could have him another, 14 or 15 years or so. So anyway, and the males and the females here, other than the size, they look the same. So the colors are the same. So unlike the kestrels, where the males and the females are different colors and different patterns, these birds are identical color-wise and pattern-wise. It's just the size that signifies the difference of the species. So he's a little guy. He doesn't weigh a whole lot, so we know this is a male.
Okay.
Any questions about him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to share a few resources with you before I let you go. The first one, of course, is libertywildlife.org. You can go there to find out their hours, to get their phone number, find out what to do if you want to volunteer, and how to handle an emergency that comes up with some wildlife in your area. But I also wanted to show you some of our resources. So let me do that. So our website is mcldaz.org, and you can go there to find our physical books or some of our digital resources. So I just wanted to show you, we have some books, a couple books on vultures and buzzards. They're primarily children's books, but they have some interesting information if you want to take a look at them. We also have some books, of course, on falcons that you might find interesting. And then Hoopla, if you go to our digital resources at eMedia, if you go down to Hoopla, we've got books on falcons and vultures that you can check out right now at home. Some of them are adults, most of them are for children. And the nice thing about Hoopla is everything is always available, and you can use up to 15 items per month on it. Then we can go again, we can check out eMedia again and go to Canopy. So over on Canopy, we have a couple of documentaries on falcons, one being on the Peregrine Falcon, which is the world's fastest animal. You'll remember that Anne mentioned that. And then we have another one on the kestrel, and that is probably worth looking at as well. So that's about it for right now, but I wanted to let you know our next meeting is our last meeting with Liberty Wildlife is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a tour of the facility behind the scenes with Laura. And we're going to be able to hear an eagle cry, which you may remember doesn't sound quite like the movies makes it sound. And we're also going to meet some of the goats that interrupted our talk on falcons earlier today. So I think you'll enjoy it. That should be up sometime next week. Thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.